Woo, dang. We're moving up in the world. Look at that. We got climate control in here now. Outside of the heater, we got some of the ice cubes being pumped in here. Man, I feel just like a fat hog in slop. Just, whew, man, what's going on? I don't even know. I'm confused, disoriented. Camera died, as I was saying. Motor's all put back together. We can start cleaning up and build the bottom end back up, and then we can flip her over and actually start putting this thing back together. I think we're done finding broke stuff, you know, for like 5 minutes, you know, maybe, possible, probably not, you know. It is what it is. But anyway, I'm gonna get this rest of this gasket off, and then we'll put everything back on it. I need to see if I can get a little wire brush or a burr, a hold of that, and clean it up so we don't destroy the O-rings when we put the new drain tube in there. That's way more better. And the reason why I'm doing it with the motor upside down is because then while I'm cleaning it, stuff ain't wanting to fall down in this direction. It's wanting to, you know, gravity. It's a thing. It's real. I promise. Sometimes. Not all the time. Got a little wipe down I need to do in there, but that's good. It's good. Ball peen trick works every time, most of the time. And that trick only works with a ball peen. But you don't want to hit so hard that you're denting the cast iron. Alrighty then. Time to put this girdle back on. Sweet. It needs a little clean itself. One of these days I'll have a parts washer for stuff like this. I got cut. Only took 18 tries, but we got it. He's all torqued down to 32 foot-pounds of torque. 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 Beautiful. And I think I will actually torque these. Perfect. Yep, gasket looks good. Don't look like it's pinching anywhere. That's what you want. I don't want your pickup tube gasket to suck air. Well, your pickup tube sucking air, you're gonna have trouble making oil pressure. Looks like 32 foot-pounds. Definitely 32 foot-pounds. A little bit of silicone on the creases. You can put the gasket on and the oil pan. I might run a little bit back here on this thin spot. Sweet! ultra gray high torque gasket maker. Well, it's about to be under a lot of torque. Go ahead and tell you. And you ain't gotta have this on there super thick either. Just a little smear coat goes a long way. And besides putting this silicone on this aluminum here, I also think it kind of helps seal the aluminum. That way it's not oxidizing anymore. It kind of helps keep the air off of the aluminum plate itself. You also got to make sure all the oil is off the surface when you start putting down your silicone, or else it won't stick. Ask me how I know. All right, I think we can put our gasket on there and drop on the oil pan, and the bottom end will finally be done. Maybe, unless, you know, I completely screwed this pooch, and well, we'll find out when there's a window in the block. Huh? Huh? Did I put it on right the first time? Huh. I'll take it. All right. On with you. On with thee. Well, hot dog. I didn't lose any of the bolts. Impressive. SEMA in a can. All right, now it's time to put the top end of this stubborn old girl back together. We'll start with a little peel off here. Hopefully there won't be any more surprises. Might be, but I don't know. I think we might be past those. Maybe, possibly, probably not. Oh, satisfying. Oh yeah. Beautiful. That makes things a lot easier. I just need to do a little wipe down. This thing will be meh. You know, I've had some temperamental builds before. Stuff that just did not want to live again. And old Project Blue Meanie here is living up to its name. It is definitely being mean to me. Like I said, I've had them temperamental before. Didn't want to come back to life. This one, absolutely beautiful. Let's figure out our stud conundrum. See how many of these are going to have to be cut. Really hope it's none. RP Personal Assembly Lube. A torque. A seconds. 150. We're gonna test that. I gotta get the paperwork out for those. See which ones of those get substituted. There's 3 of these get substituted out. I can't remember if it's some of the long ones or some of the short ones. So I gotta look that back up. I didn't have to cut these. So pretty much every one of these has to be cut to the same length as these, which is the same height as these here, in order to fit underneath of that pack brake. And that's why I hate that pack brake. It's cool, makes cool noises, helps with towing, makes everything else more difficult. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Fancy. This is the heartbreaker. Oh. Oh. Yep. Oh, just barely. There's a couple thousands there. That one's good. It's gonna be real close. All right, there's a hole there. Hole there. A little bit of a low spot there, but not bad. Let's get a little. All right, right there might be a thousandth, maybe. Might not even be a thousandth right there. I mean, if you can't see light, there's no sense in breaking out a filler gauge. I mean, just barely. No. See, it's good. I ain't even gonna break out a filler gauge for it. Yeah, right there's the lowest point on the head, and it ain't even worth talking about. So, this block is good. Good enough, anyway. Oh, head gasket, where are you? You're all junk compared to the star of the show. Oh, yes. Come to me. How do I open you? I do not know. Oh, what do I do with my hands? Been waiting my whole life for this moment. It's all led to this. Yes. Now, which way does it go on? Oh no. Better not be a crease in that. I'll be mad. It's a mofo. Look at this thing on here. Yatta, get off here. Come on. Come on. No, better calm down. I'm gonna fold the gasket. Yeah. Your parents don't love you. Does it go like this? No. Yes. No. Yes. No. Doesn't go like that. It's not gonna work. Doesn't fit. To go like this. Oh, maybe. Might have a winner. That's beautiful. Now the gotta get that head or her. Over her. Get on here. Woo, dang. Heads on. Hell yeah. Look at that beautiful thing. Oh, it's been a headache getting here. Fought me every step of the way. But, you know, we might get some wins today. It's hard to say. But this is a beautiful thing right here. I love working with fresh stuff. But then again, working with fresh stuff sometimes is a pain. Threads might be boogered, this and that might be this, and it's unknown. But either way, she is a thing of beauty. I ain't even took the time to look at any of the ports or anything. Oh yeah. Now, got some touch up in there. Got some smoothing. That ought to help it breathe just a little bit better. Now, it's not like some big competition head that's super hogged out or anything. But like Power Driven Diesel says, it's a good quality, I guess you'd say budget street head. And I think it's gonna do us good. I think it's gonna make him happy. That makes me happy. Everybody is happy, hopefully. Now here's all of our beautiful chopped 625s. Like I said, if you're running the pack brake, you know, trying to be cool, that's the price you gotta pay. You gotta cut up all your nice head studs. We got that done. I'm just gonna start putting these in the head. These three here have to be in a certain orientation to work with bolting down the pack brake. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get all these in, and then we'll start the lubing and torque process. Now what I like to do, and you can ask 100 people and 50 of them are probably all gonna give you different answers. Might be some of them that correspond. What I like to do with my studs, anytime that I'm dealing with them, is I like to take them and run them all the way down as far as they'll go. Let's take them and bottom them out in the head. Well, you just ain't long-winded. I think this is a through bolt. I think I'm gonna run into a main soon. All right, there we go. Finally. Anyway, I like to bottom them out, and then once I bottom them out, I like to just back them off. A quarter turn to a half turn, just depending. And that's what I like to do. And I'll do all the studs that way, and then we'll start torquing them. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all these done, and then we'll carry on from there. Speed up the process a little bit. And for those of you wondering, no, I did not clean up the threads on the block side, because I don't care if they're a little stiff going in or coming out, because that's not going to affect our torque rating. If anything, it helps hold the studs just still, because they don't need to move. So no, I didn't clean up the threads in the block. I did blow it out. There's no fluid in any of the holes, but I didn't clean them up because, well, there's no point. As long as they thread in, you're golden. And the reason why we had to cut these, because I haven't really went into full explanation on that, is because I don't know if you can see, there is a height difference now between these. And these have to be pretty close to that height right there, because once that pack breaks on, it has a clearance problem. And if the tops of these aren't low enough, the pack brake will hit these studs, and then this mid plate, the mid plate for that the pack brake's built into, will not seat all the way down if these are too tall. And like I said, pack brake's cool, but it is an aggravation. Anyway, I'm gonna start the process of backing all these off about quarter turn. I'm gonna get some of that ARP Ultra Torque on all these and get all the nuts and washers lubed and put on, and then we'll start the torque process. Smart man would invest in one of those little brushes and brush it some better. Would have rolled the studs in it before he put them in, but I'm an idiot. That went far better than it did last time. Last time I wasn't allowed to shower in the house for a week afterwards. Might be getting better at this. And another thing, ARP's not near as stingy with the lube as it used to be. Or, you know, maybe I'm just not as messy as I used to be. Hard to say. All right, let's get this thing torqued down now. And we're gonna give it all of it. Yes, you're supposed to run them down with an impact. Perfect. They're all down there like they're supposed to be. Yeah. Start squishing this thing. Yes, I did just go through and adjust all my studs and back them off a little bit to get my thread engagement with my nuts a little better. So that's, and under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have to do this. Whenever you bottomed out your studs and backed them off the quarter or half turn, they'd be the right height to get full thread engagement. But we had to trim them for this pack break, and it changes the length of the studs. You gotta, that's yet again an extra step that you have to take in order to get everything set right, so you can start torquing, and then you don't have too much stud protruding from the nut once it's all torqued down, so that way you don't have clearance problems. For the torque, we're going to start out at 50, then do 100, and then do 150. So we're going to do it in 50 foot-pound increments, and it's going to be a lot better than last time, because last time these stud nuts were different sizes than the others, so every time I had to switch out, plus I did it in frame, so I had to have an extension on, everything. It was just awkward. This is gonna be lovely. What did I say the first one was? 50? There's 50. Low as the torque wrench will go. All right, now this is totally a me thing, but I like to do it. Whether other people choose to do it or not is up to them. I like to do every step twice, because that makes sure it's fully seated at that torque before you move on to the next. So I'm gonna run through it the second time on 50, and then we'll jump up to 100. Yeah. See all that extra turn you're getting out of the center ones? It's where the head pulled down the entire gasket, and now you're getting all that slop out of the middle of the head now. Every step, I believe, should be done twice. Click! If you want your head to be on there. Click! And see how we're getting towards the outside of the head, getting less and less rotation out of them. Starting to add up, ain't it? All right, 100 foot-pounds, here we come. And begin. All right, round 2 at 100. Now, as you're seeing there, we got rotation out of some of them. Not all of them, but we got rotation out of some of them. And time to start the 150 torque. This is when you find out if you're gonna break a stud or pull threads out of the block. Hope neither. All right, round 2. All right, now I was gonna do a 4th torque and take them to like 160. I like to go about 10 pounds over on them usually, but honestly, last time I torqued it at 145 with the old studs, and I had no head gasket problems. It was just the head itself falling apart. So I think I'm just gonna leave it at 150, and we'll do 2 hot retorques on it after we get it running. She should be good. Let's see if we can get the injectors put in this thing now. And we're gonna swap number 6 with number 1. So in case it starts acting up, gets a miss or anything. We have a new injector coming, but we're not, it's gonna be a little while before it gets here, so we're gonna put the number 6 on the number 1 hole, so whenever the injector gets here, we'll have a little bit easier time just swapping it instead of having to go dig all the way in the back and get this one out. We'll probably end up doing the swap on it whenever we're doing one of the hot retorques, probably. That's number 6. It's number 5. Make sure your copper's clean. Make sure you got a little bit of lube on your O-ring, and you can pop her in here. This was the number 5, and it still is going to be the number 5. All right, number 5 is in, and I'm not gonna put any torque-lator on it until I actually get the tube in and get them at least lined up. Then you got a pre-torque you gotta do on these, and then you got a pre-torque you gotta do on these. Then you do a final torque on these, and then you do a final torque on these. So, it's a thing. Shiny. So shiny. I'm gonna put 5 of them in new, but the number 6 one, I'm gonna put it back in with its old tube. I'm gonna save this new tube for whenever we, you know, get the new injector. Number 1 tube. Got that right, apparently. And I don't want to hear anything about an extension losing your torque. When it's this small and it's a steady pressure, trust me, you ain't twisting that. Not with inch pounds. So you do the injector pre-torque at 44 inches, and the feed tube pre-torque is 132 inch-pounds. 5 Newton meters. All right, there is the 5 Newton meters. Feed tube, 30 inch-pounds, 11 foot-pounds, 15 Newton meters. Injector final 71 inch-pounds. It's like 10 Newton meters, roughly. So that's what we'll do. We'll do 10 Newton meters. $37 foot-pounds, 50 Newton meters.
It's a really neat car overall.
Sweet. I think we're gonna put the fuel system on now. Let's get this intake put on. Fresh. Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, it helps keep up. Oh, this shop is just, the shop's just well built. It's in. I think the shelf over here is shorter. In typical fashion, Project Blue Meanie is still fighting me. It is aggravating. This thing just does not want to live. And you know, even if it does want to live, it wants it to be a fight the whole way. You know, the owner still wants it to be stock as far as drivability and daily operation. And here's what I've ran into now. All right, he's wanting to run the stock intake because he's wanting to keep the grid heater. Well, there's a problem with that. This flange here, the thickness of it right here, that thickness. This one here is right at, you know, you're sitting on there right at about 815 thousandths of an inch. The stock head is 740 thousandths of an inch, which means that extra, what is it, 75 thousandths of an inch. The extra 75 thousandths of an inch makes it where, when you drop this down on here, the bolt holes get you right down in there. Here, let me get you some light. You're right down in there. As you can see, that will not come over any further. And my bolt holes do not line up at all. And the only way to get said bolt holes to line up is to either eat at 75 thousandths off of this edge here, or cut off the grid heater. Now, after talking to him just now, he doesn't want to, but he said if we have to, hack off the grid heater and we'll just delete the grid heater. Now, I know they make these plates with the grid heater delete, but we don't have one on hand and we're trying to get this thing back together. So it's either cut this off or mill this back. And if I want to sit here and mill this back, I might as well take the head back off, because, well, let's see. From here to here, we're going to hog 75 thousandths of an inch out of here, which isn't a lot, but it's enough to make a hell of a lot of metal shavings. So, I mean, the head would need to be thoroughly cleaned. So, I'm gonna do a little more thinking, see if I wanna cut this off or wanna wait and get a different intake. We're just gonna skip the intake for now, put the rocker arms on, put the pack brake on, set all that stuff, get it all done, and then we'll go from there. I got it set to TDC. I don't know if it's on overlap on 1 or 6. What set some rocker arms in here and see if we can tell. These are the 6 ones. Far back, 1 forward. This one goes on the very back. I know y'all can't see in there, you just have to trust me that that's in the hole. Okay. If you look at these, it is at TDC top dead center with overlap on number 6. And you can tell because of, well, the way that it is. These here are level, which means that the cam here, the cam profile is in overlap. None of these valves are open. It's on compression stroke. These here are not in overlap. This one is higher than that one. Which means, since it's in overlap on that one, when we put the rocker arms, we can go ahead and adjust both intake and exhaust valves on this one. And we can do the exhaust valves on 2 and 4, and then the intake on 3 and 5. If I remember correctly. And then once we rotate it over and get it on TDC for number 1, where these are in overlap, then we'll adjust both of these, and then we'll have the exhaust on 5 and 3, and the intake on 2 and 4. Yeah, if I remember right. So we'll get the rest of the push rods in, we'll get the rocker arms on, and we'll start running the overhead. Now, I know y'all can't see down in here, so you'll just have to trust me when I'm putting them in. And for the keen viewers out there, you'll notice these feet here are a little different than the stock ones, and that's to accommodate the pack brake. It's where the pack brake's hydraulic cylinder sits over here on these whenever it is engaged. So you have to have the orientation of these right in order for that to work. And pack brake adds complications everywhere. But dang, does it sound cool. All right, the rocker arm is 27 foot-pounds, which is 36.5 Newton meters. So, okay. Alright. Well, if you haven't happened to notice, all the rocker arms are back off because we have an interference issue. Our nuts and washers are too large, and they've got our alignment messed up on our pedestal here. So you can't get in both bolts and still have the rocker arms lined up on the feet. So we're going to come in on every one of these pedestals and grind this edge off so that it will let this rotate enough for the hose to line back up. If it ain't one thing, it's something else on this truck. Woo dang. And there is an oil passage that flows up through here and I can't get inside of this inlay here or it will ruin it. So I ain't got a lot of room to work with, but I think we got just enough to make it work. That might be enough. I'm gonna clean it up real good and see if we can get the bolts to go in. All right, we have a winner. Just gotta do that to the rest of them now. Take these off, put a little assembly lube on them now that they ain't got no oil on them. And I always put the cap back on your assembly lube when you're not using it. Worst thing you can do is contaminate your assembly lube, then it's kind of pointless. All right, it only took 12 years, but the guy finally got something done. And, well, at least got something on, anyway. Let's see, what was our torque again? 36.5 Newton meters. The reason why I'm putting it in Newton meters is because that's the easiest scale to read on this particular torque wrench while doing this, so I just tend to use that when I'm down in these small numbers. Click. Yay! Alright, do the rest of them. Click. Ah! We're pretty sure that we're on overlap on number 6, so we're at TDC number 6. So we're going to do the exhaust on 2, 4, and 6, and then we're going to do the intake on 3, 5, and 6. And the spec for the intake is, 6 thousandths to 15 thousandths. I like to do mine right around 13, a little bit on the loose side, and same thing with the exhaust. It's 21 to 34 thousandths. I like to set mine right at 30 thousandths. Again, a little bit on the loose side, especially breaking in new parts and stuff and running them. Like if you're a fan of Engine Masters, then you probably already know that tight ain't always your best friend. This is exhaust, this is intake. If I can get in it. And you just want drag on it. You don't want to be putting the clamping force of the sun on it.
Well, if it's starting to rain on top of ice cream on fire, just go jump on the old time here, take a $75 ride down the run.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, now all I gotta do is just that on the exhaust for 4 and 2, and the intake on 3 and 5, and then we can rotate the motor over and do the other cylinders. All right, I'll roll the motor over, make sure there ain't no binding, and we should be done with that. Yep, there's no binding. Those are back in overlap now. Oh yeah. Yep. Finally, got something done and didn't have any hassle to do it. I love it when a plan comes together. Alright, let's keep moving on. Woo dang! Alright, so where we left off, gonna put the intake on, the intake cover and the fuel rail and get all the fuel lines on it. But we couldn't because we ran into some clearance problems here with this, so we have a delete plate coming for it. That ain't got here yet. And we were also kind of waiting on an injector. We was waiting on the intake heater for the BD air horn that he has for it. And those have showed up. So here is the the intake heater for that BD air horn over there. So we can delete this intake just as soon as, you know, new one shows up. Then we can get the fuel rail on and progress from there. It's got a nice little bent to shit copper seal. I don't guess it's supposed to be that way, but we'll find out. Whatcha? Yep, there it is. That's gonna be the new air heater for it. Maybe it'll be enough, maybe it won't. I guess we'll find out. A couple cold starts. And here is his new to him injector. I don't think it might be a reman or it might be a new one. Don't know. He ordered it. Industrial, yeah, okay. I think it's an industrial injection reman, but stock sizing, all that stuff stock, because you know, all this was stock. And I know I said we'd probably run that one to do the hot retorques and stuff, but you know, we had a few setbacks, so I decided to take a day off, just wait on parts. You know, the thing was fighting us every step of the way. And so we had clearance problems with the intake, and then the pedestals here, we had clearance problems with them. We had to come through and grind down the edge of all of them to clear the studs. But you know, we got that took care of, and everything works. Got the overhead ran, everything's beautiful and lining up now. And I don't think we'll have any more headaches or roadblocks the rest of the way, because I mean, other than the exhaust manifold bolting to the head, everything else is the way it was, you know. And then, well, and we got the lower valve cover plate, which is the pack brake that's got to go on. So the exhaust manifold and the pack brake are the last two things that we might have fitment issues with. Now, if we can get the exhaust manifold on and the lower half of the valve cover on the head, I mean, we might be able to finish this thing up and get it back in the truck. But I mean, she's been fighting us. Like, it has been, you know, definitely one step forward, 10 steps back, everything we've tried to do on this. Which is, you know, fine. You have that sometimes. You know, probably not. Usually not. It's probably just a me thing. Anyway, because, you know, the last time I did this, I mean, other than the head gasket was a problem. You know, getting the head gasket, and then the one showing up was folded, and getting another one. I mean, other than the head gasket, last time we did this, it was flawless. You know, got everything, got to put it back together. You know, it was like literally one of those things, like a couple nights, you know, ripped it apart. Well, we ripped it apart one night, you know, and sent the head off to get it machined. Like, that was the only thing that took time. But once we got the head back, I mean, it was back together and running, doing the hot retorques and back on the road. It was nothing, you know. Beautiful. Wasn't really waiting on anything. And this time, it's just every time you go to put in a plug or a bolt or anything, nothing lines up. Everything's fighting you. But, you know, it's just, that's the nature of doing this. I can't tell you how many of these, not, you know, these, you know, how many trucks, cars, four-wheelers, whatever, lawnmowers I've worked on that sometimes they're smooth as butter and it's, you know, everything falls right together just like it's made to go together. And then other times it's like, why are we mixing Dodge and Chevy and Ford parts on the same motor? But you're not, but it just seems like it because the fitment of nothing lines up. It's like, why are they all different? But, you know, that's just the nature of the beast. You know, it's nothing to get upset over. If anything, it's something to laugh about. And why was that unplugged? That's just a little cap. Oh well, found it. But, all right, so I think I'm just gonna go ahead, pull this injector out and get that new one in since we're right here, and then we can finish the top end of it. Probably get the exhaust manifold on, and then it's a little bit more of a waiting game till we get that intake plate. And once we get that intake plate, we can get the fuel rail on it and we can finish this side of the motor up. You know, and once we get the intake and fuel rail on it, it can go back to its home. Oh, yep. Good deal. Oh, and another thing, the reason why we moved it to the number 1 hole, because this was the number 6 injector, is because we thought we was going to do it in truck, and it being up the number 1 hole is obviously easier to do than filling with the number 6 hole in frame. But also, having it on 1 or 6 when you go to replace it, you know, if you think you may have a bad injector, the benefits to that is when you have it on TDC, you get it, you know, you get it in overlap. See it? You get her in overlap. So it's TDC overlap number 1. So whenever I pull off these rocker arms, we pull out this injector and pop in the new one, when we put it all back together, when we do our valve clearances, like we can just set them right here, right now. Both of them, we ain't got to turn the motor over, ain't got to do nothing. Reset both of them and then just carry on. It's a little bit quicker and a little bit more efficient. And I know what you are thinking, like, well, you're just replacing the injector. You shouldn't have to reset your valve clearances. I mean, they should just stay put. And this is true. This is 100% true. But, you know, sometimes I like to be a little extra. And I will loosen these up when I take off the rocker arms, and then when we put them back on, I'll be resetting the valve lash on this hole. That's just how I'm gonna do it. All right, let's get it tore apart. Napa Evercraft injector puller. Fine print, it's rubbed off. Just going to have to trust me. Injector, pulled. Sweet! A little chunk out of that O-ring seal. Now, there's that injector. Like I said, I don't know if he has to return that for a core or not. He ordered it. That's all on him now. Let's replace this O-ring. Yep. Sweet! Drown! Huh, got the squirts. New boy. New injector, new tube. That's how I feel about it. What am I doing? Jesus. Sometimes I wonder if my brain works. It doesn't. Definitely stunned. Aha! Alright, there we go. That seems centered. I think that's dead nuts. Change up my angle here. Click! Beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Rocker arm, 27 foot-pounds, 36.5 Newton meters. 30, 30, click, click, done. Exhaust 30 and take 13. Slight drag. Get all the excess grease pushed out of your way on here and in the push rod. 14 millimeter. And all the torque. Click, click. Beautiful. All right, think we can put the pack brake on, or lower valve cover. Now I do have one of these gaskets brand new, but I'm not gonna put it on because this one is still extremely soft and, well, it's brand new. It's got like 500 miles on it, so I don't see the point in replacing it. See, it's sitting down on there flat. Little studs are poking through. Oh Lord, we might get something put on here without, like, I don't know, getting on the internet for 2 days and breaking out the grinder and sledgehammer. That would be, you know, a miracle, really. Might be a bad thing if it's just bolts on here. Then I might have to, something else might be ready to go extremely wrong. Worry about that later. All right, so we'll start from the center out on these. Be 18 foot-pounds or 24 Newton meters. And in these it says 27 foot-pounds or 36 Newton meters. So, yeah, pack brake, see, organization. 24, 36 Newton meters. Click, click, done. All right, now we gotta set these. And, you know, I don't have to. I could leave them backed off since we got to tear all this back apart to do the hot retorques to get to the studs, because you can't get to that stud without pulling off the intake one unless you had a wrench out here. So I have to tear it all back down whenever we do the hot retorques, both times. Fun. But with this back all the way out, it hits the valve cover and don't let the valve cover go down. So while you're running it in between the hot retorques, oiled, leaks all down the back of the block. So we don't want that. So we'll set all these and we'll get the valve cover on and throw this exhaust manifold on. I gotta go do some educational reading because I have forgotten exactly the process how to set these. So be right back. All right, they want this to be on TDC number 6, so number 6 will be an overlap, so we got to do a full rotation. And I think the reason why I want you to do this one first, because then you have to do another full rotation to do the other half of the cylinders, and then that will leave you with number 1 in overlap for final installation and everything. So we'll rotate the motor over, get this one and overlap number 6, and then we will adjust all of the odd exhaust cylinders. I think. No, it's the even. It's the evens. Yeah. We'll be able to adjust 2, 4, and 6. Get them set right. And then we can rotate the motor to overlap or TDC on number 1. And then we can do 1, 3, and 5. Pretty straightforward. And this tool comes with the pack brake. So it's a 3/16 Allen wrench, I think. Yeah, looks like it. So it's gotta be. I mean, if it looks like a 3/16, then it has to be. Oh. Tight! And be careful if you have these and you're doing this, because this thing does not have an exact fit. It's actually kind of shitty its fit, really, and it pops off, and you do run the risk of taking out an injector. And no, it does not hurt loosening these. These are just jam nuts, so they can be loose while you're going through the setup process. In fact, you could run it with them loose. They would just end up backing these off until something went terribly wrong. So don't do that. And then once we get the clearance set on these jam nuts will be torqued down to 42 Newton meters. Aha! Overlap has been achieved. All right, so 2, 4, and 6, we should be able to do them. The way it says do this is you take it all the way down till you make contact. Then you go a full rotation to get out any trapped oil, because these are all little solenoid actuators. And then you back it off till it has slack in it again, clearance. You gotta back off that nut so it doesn't confuse you. So see, it's not touching the rocker arm at all in there. You're just gonna have to believe me because you can't see it. You just gotta feel it. And you go back down to touch. Then as soon as it touches, they want you to back it off 1/2 turn, which will establish 25 thousandths of clearance between it and the rocker arm pedestal down there that it rests on. And then when you're torquing this, make sure it does not move. That is in the instructions. 42 Newton meters. Click. All right, now we'll do that on 4 and 2. Rotate the motor over, do 1, 3, and 5. Pretty simple process, really. Yaller. Yaller. Well, all right, now we'll rotate the motor 360 degrees, do the other 3, finish putting it together. And so this is hit in action, because by magic and pixie dust, you know, it holding open the exhaust valve is how you get engine braking. You know, so it's magic. See, right there is the lash. I don't know if y'all can perceive that, but you know, that's 30 thousandths of lash. Then we do 1 full rotation to get the oil squeezed out of the solenoid. Oh, now we got all the lash. Oh. And you know, that's just the magic of how these things work. But then you back her back off to just touching for 0 lash between this solenoid and the foot. And you go back half turn, half turn. Then you proceed to torque to 42 Newton meters. Click. Boom. All this fancy stuff is done. We're at number 1 in overlap. And we can, you know, finish putting the motor together, at least as far as we can get without an intake. And for any of those wondering about this whole pack brake thing, they've discontinued. They don't make it anymore. And I don't know if it's because they had problems or they just wasn't meeting the sales numbers that they wanted to. So they just said the hell with it and canned the whole operation. So if you get one, you probably have to buy it, you know, used. But it does come with its own gasket, which Now, if you have one, like I don't think, if you go to Pack Brake, I don't think they still offer their valve cover gasket for it anymore. So you'll have to buy a stock one and modify it. Like you have to cut it up, cut out certain things and this and that. And even this one, I had to cut out holes because the studs here are a little too long and they poke up through it. And this is the Pack Brake one. And the studs that are made for this kit, from ARP anyway, are too long. So you have to clearance them so they're not pushing up on the gasket. So you gotta drill a hole there. But yeah, if you currently have one, you'll have to go aftermarket to get a valve cover gasket for it. And for any of those looking to get one of these engine brakes for these, you're gonna have to go aftermarket. I mean, you're gonna have to go used, like eBay or something like that. You have to source one used because they don't make them anymore. Which, you know, kind of sucks because although I've complained about this entire time, they are aggravating. But they do make cool sounds and they do really, really help with towing. So there's that. And whenever you buy them, whenever you buy the Pack Brake, you know, it comes with this plate, it comes with valve cover harness, like I said, and it comes with its own hose. Like, it's a blue hose and it's a little bit shorter than this one, but the fitting on it cracked, so I had to get a new one made because it was just leaking oil back here. And then, you know, the harness that taps into your factory wiring harness and everything, it's, you know, it's these wires that are tapped in here and this plug here, you know, it comes with everything. I said it's a good unit, it's well made. It's just a pain when you're working on the truck. And a shame that they did indeed quit making them. But, you know, didn't make sales or they were having failure problems, one of the two. I'm sure if this video ever makes it big enough, somebody from Pack Brake will inevitably comment on it, or maybe not. And these wires here, according to the instrucciones, torque down to 11 inch-pounds, which isn't very much at all, and you absolutely do not want to over-torque these. Because, you know, you go to breaking injectors and then you're going to cry whenever you have to, you know, go take out a second mortgage to put new injectors in your truck because, you know, your German torque wrench got a little excited. That's just, you know, going to be on you. What size are they? I don't know. They are 7 millimeters. For those that didn't ask. All right, now these are 11 inch-pounds. 11 inch-pounds. And I don't have any torque wrench that goes that low. I don't think. Do I? 11 inch-pounds, people. Do not over-torque these. Click. Click. All right, I'm doing 12. I am over torquing them. Click. Click. 11 inch-pounds. Click. Valve cover. Valve cover. Torque on these, all of it. Sweet. Like I said, all of it. And said, you know, drill, tube, rebreather, filter, it fell apart. So, you know, motor ate it. No longer here, you know. Can't be reinstalled after they fall apart, you know. If it caught it before it fell apart, could have went to, you know, Cummins and got a new one and replaced it, you know. But fell apart, so you know, it's unreplaceable now. So when that happens, you just kind of, you know, you got to cut the filter component out of here, and then you take the rebreather from your intake hose and you run it down in the shock tower over there, and you know, you just, you know, you let her slobber a little bit here and there, you know. That's actually, you know, the Cummins service bulletin. It tells you to do that. Just go ahead and delete on that. And whenever the little light comes on for service, your drool tube breather, whatever, you know, you just hit next and go on with your life. Put the ugly stud one back here where no one can see it. Beautiful. Done. Starting to look like a motor again. Engine, motor, engine, motor. I think it's engine. Yeah, starting to look like an engine again. Well, let's see. Get the exhaust manifold on there, and we're kind of gridlocked until, oh well, I can get the thermostat housing on there and get the bypass up on there once we get the exhaust manifold on there. Then get the thermostat bypass on there, and I'm kind of gridlocked till I get this intake plate. I mean, I could put it in there without it, but you know, got it out here. It's just as easy to get the wiring button back up on the motor and see if I can address it and tighten it up a little bit while it's out here. But anyway, I can get the fuel rail, fuel filter housing on there. I can get all this on a lot easier out here, and you know, then shoehorn it in there. Just easier to address it all out here. Put these fittings in. Take them, clean them up real quick. Get these water fittings put on here. Exhaust manifold, water bypass. And then, like I said, I'm on hold until I get my intake. I'm pretty sure my socket reaches that, but you gotta take this plastic clip off. And believe me, you do not want to break this plastic clip, because you cannot simply buy the plastic clip. If you break the at least not that I know of. I couldn't source one the last time I did anyway. I broke that plastic clip getting that heater core line off of here. And I had to buy a whole nother heater core line just to get that plastic clip. And I think the heater core line, you know, from Dodge anyway, you know, $109. I think it was $109 for 10 inches of rubber hose and 2 pieces of plastic. Well, no, 1 piece of plastic with that clip in it, and then the other end just has a regular old, you know, spring clip on it. Old Chrysler there, pretty proud of the stuff they make. Yeah, alrighty, get the Sheila Goopy Goop on here. I ain't never used this thread sealant before. I guess it's good. It's a Permatex thread sealant with PTFE. I don't know. It might not be any good. It might not work with antifreeze at all. It might be complete junk and leak all over the place. But, you know, I figured, you know, I saw it and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try that. Might be lots of regrets. Might be the best decision of my life. Hope there's no regrets, because the plugs on the back of the head got it. So if I got to come in here and resell it, it's going to be a real pain in the old butt. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Oh no, I got it on my fingers. It's like anti-seize, it's going to grow. And, you know, if a socket fits, I think it's 3/4. Impact socket. Denied. Could swear I had a deep well chrome vanadium. Oh, it fits. You know what they say? If it fits, it ships. All the Ugga Duggas. That's probably, you know, tight enough. yeah, it's more than tight enough. I can move the whole motor with it. Just moved 1,000 pounds. Didn't budge. Stunned. I love peg. That don't fit. Ah, perfect fit. Now this socket, I don't believe clears anything over. Oh, it might. Oh, it might work. Well, we'll see in just a second. Oh yeah, get in there. Oh yeah, that's how we like it. I think I'm putting these on in the right order. Very real possibility I'm not, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I should really pay attention, I guess. Oh well. Don't lose your plastic clips. Win. Hot side. Hot side. Hot side. I don't remember what the hell this was in. Oh, it's the ones that hold that bracket on. I knew that. I totally wasn't worried. Y'all probably wouldn't believe how many of these I have put a manifold on and completely forgot to put the gaskets on. I had to pull the manifold off and put the gasket back on because I'm an idiot. Anyway, sweet. Put a little bit of dick 'em on each one of these here and try and keep these nuts from galding up. I mean, you know, in a perfect world, we never take this off again. But, you know, I learned my lesson from the last time I did this one. Whenever I was assembling everything in the manner and the mindset that it's never coming back out. Well, you know what? It immediately needed to come back out. Didn't immediately come back out, but it immediately needed to come back apart. And you know, I'm not living that way anymore. We're putting this together as if we plan on taking it apart. Because that's the plan. Yep. You heard it here first. Anyway. Oh, like a glove for all you naysayers and doubters. And seeing the good thing about studs is like you don't have to like keep them all from like not even being finger tight till you get them all in so they all line up. It's on there. They all line up. She can go nuts if you want. Ow! Hit my ankle. Ugh! Stupid. Man, this is way easier than doing it in frame. If you do this sort of thing in frame, oh man, you're an idiot. Definitely didn't do it in frame last time. Anyway. Well, in frame with the cab on. You're an idiot. I can't do it like this. How'd I ever get it on in the truck? Must have been one of my turbo nuts. Yeah, one of them was. Okay. A little bit of lube on here. Just because it kind of helps keep the seal from becoming one with the head. I mean, you know, you want it to seal, but if you ever have to take it off to service it or it's just in the way and you need to get it off the way and it rips this little gasket whenever you take it off, then there you are. You're going and buying a new thermostat when you didn't even need to just because your gasket tore. You know, aggravation for no reason. So, you know, if you can save yourself some aggravation, why shouldn't you, you know? Beautiful. Ooh. The threading worked out better on this head. Remember, our clip was facing in towards it last time. I had to use a screwdriver to get in there to get it off. The threading's way better. But ain't one thing, it's another. This here is hitting the back brake. From the looks of it, it's always hit it there. Maybe that could have been causing some sort of alignment issue before whenever this was bolted on. Don't know. Alright, I'm gonna go grind this edge off, so got a little more room there. And the last time I put this on, I'm trying to think if I had everything assembled as far as the valve cover and everything the last time I put it on, or if I put it on before final assembly. I don't remember. I know this hose wasn't on. This hose is fighting me right now a little bit, but gotta get over it. Yep, I think that took care of our tolerance problem. Doesn't explain why my bolts aren't going all the way down though. That might be a different problem altogether. This head might not be threaded as deep as that factory head, because they're stopping there and that is obviously not tight. So let's see if I can maybe run a tap in here and cut a little more thread in it, or if I need to perhaps maybe cut a little bit off the bolts. The Cummins that keeps on giving. That's what happens when you're working with aftermarket stuff. Don't always just bolt on. I mean, it did bolt on on the other head, but you know, this head, it's just, you know, not what it's doing. No, better come back. Okay, so we are stopping there. Alright, these are not through holes, and the threads do stop down there. So let's see if I have a tap in this size, and if I don't, I might just have to remove a little bit off of the bolts. Then again, I might run into a length problem here, so I don't know. That might be it. M6 by 1.0, maybe? Yep, that's it. Alright, let's see if we can add a couple more threads to it. If not, then I don't know. Plan Q as of this point. But, you know, this thing has a really shit clutch, so we shouldn't have to worry about it.
They'll pull apart, and if one unplugs, every light after that won't light up. So a little bit less to flip around, these people can come like that.
Motor's cooked in it too, because wow, that thing stinks. But it keeps working. And I, like, seriously, this DeWalt here, I have let the smoke out of it. This DCD 771 model. It's never had a lot of power, but I swear, I have let the smoke out of this thing. I don't know how many times. And it's still working. Somehow. Oh, beautiful. Oh, yeah. Yep. I think problem solved. I think problem solved. Maybe not, but more than likely it is. Yep. All interference, all bolt depth problems, all problems I do believe are now solved because I'm amazing. And that's what you do when you have a problem. You overcome it, like the 800,000 other problems that, you know, old Blue Meanie here's having. I mean, just telling you, anybody else could have done this truck, it'd probably been, you know, nothing. Wish wash, easy peasy. This truck just hates me. Absolutely hates me. And the feeling is starting to become rather mutual. These are stainless steel, but you know, I don't care. I'm gonna give it a little anti-slip-ems. Or positive slip-ems? I don't know. You know, words, they mean things. I usually don't know what they mean, but they do. Apparently I upset people quite often because I don't know what words mean. Idiot! Anyway. Alright, this seems kind of stiff, but I think it'll be fine. There's that. Sweet. All right. It's actually starting to look like something. Now, whether or not it'll stay that way, that's impossible to say. That is impossible to say. I hope this one goes together and stays together for a little while. But the way it's fought me, probably not. That's me being optimistic. But at least it is starting to look whole again. All right, starting to look like an engine again. Well, I think that's all we're gonna do for today. That's all we really can do. Well, we can do more, but that's all we're gonna do for today. Go get that other intake. Not a lot's happened since last time I was in here. All right. Well, y'all remember how I said we were waiting on an intake with the heater grid delete in it? Well, that plan has went plumb out the window. And we're gonna be making our own delete. Because as usual with this lovely truck, nothing's going to plan. Parts won't show up. Parts won't bolt together. Everything's just being So, gonna do what I should have did, you know, 14 days ago, and just cut this off, make this intake work, get it together, get it in the truck, and make those burr noises. And that's the plan for today. Well, at least get the motor finished together and ready to go in. We'll get this intake right here cut up. We'll get it fit on there, get it pretty. And we'll come over here, get that fuel rail, all the fuel lines on it, get all the wiring harness buttoned back up. Probably clean up a mating surface here and here. It's got some Loctite buildup on it, a little bit of corrosion and stuff. So get those mating surfaces for the torque converter cleaned up, get the torque converter cleaned up. Might run a tap through the holes there, get the threads cleaned up. That way whenever we put it back together and Loctite it again, everything is muy bueno, beautiful. And I might even, you know, hit the frame here with a little bit of buffing action. Throw some Rust-Oleum on it right quick, you know, because we don't like that rustage. And I am a believer in some Rust-Oleum. That stuff does work. I have painted many a frames with it with very little prep. Yeah, look at that oil pan. Look at that. That's Rust-Oleum prep. That thing is beautiful. Anyway, let's jump into getting this cut apart and on here. Good enough for the girls we date. Anyway, Torx. And if you ever find yourself in the market for Torx bits, get the impact ones. They're so much better than a regular Torx bit. And from my experience, every time I use a Torx bit, I always try to use an impact on it. Because there's just something about that consistent load when you're putting on there and you got one that's really, really jammed up. I break them every time. I just, you know, just snap the bit. And the impact ones just seem to last longer, and then that at impact, you know, duggas. Just helps with the breaking loose. See what I lie to you guys? Perfect. Sweet. All right, now as y'all can see, these are just kind of washers on here, and they kind of just hold that thing in. So if you're doing this on your truck, just cutting this off and deleting it, make sure that you put the nut back on here and give it schmuggy duggas, because you want this tight so it don't leak, you know, none of your boosties out. Plus you don't want that falling off right there, because, well, that'll be a bad time when that falls down in there and the motor eats it. Now I'm gonna take mine and go a step further. I'm gonna get this off. Well, we ain't gotta take it off. I'm gonna get it cleaned up, use the wire wheel or something. Now I'm gonna put the red Loctite to her. I don't want that nut falling off there and biting us later. So yeah, take care of that. This here and its bigger companion saw are two things I do not regret buying, because I use them all the time. See how the new Milwaukee does. that escalated quickly. Yep. Never thought I'd have so much trouble cutting aluminum. But it looks better, and now there's a big hole here, like, hole. Got a few apprentice marks on it, you know. Got a little carried away with the burr. But it is deleted, and you know, I really thought a steel burr would do a lot better with this than what it did. Obviously, I was wrong. Don't worry, I got some aluminum burrs on the way now. Definitely learned my lesson on that. But I am happy that I remembered I own a plasma. I would have started with that. Whatever. But yeah, everything's good. Gasket on it lines up good. Got plenty of material. I'll put a few dabs of silicone on these witness marks here whenever go to put it on there, and she will be beautiful. Shouldn't have a problem in the world sealing, and that's definitely more airflow than what it had. That is faux show. Anyway, back to what we were doing before. Let's get some Loctite on this stud here and put that nut on there and continue on. Tasty. How much? Pretty much, you know, all of it, you know. I don't even want it to even think about coming off. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There we go. That ought to be just the right amount. And Ugga at home. Snug. Sweet. There we go. That's down on there good and tight. Now, ooh, self-vulcanizing cream. Perfect. A little raggage. Get the oil off of the shielding surface. Any oils off of the shielding surface. Let's see, which gasket do I want to use? Yeah, this metal one's already been flattened, so I don't want to reuse it. Well, glad I put all that effort into shaving this edge off that was up here, because as you can tell, it really did increase airflow. Not stupid. Anyway, let me get that out of the way just a hair bit. Let's go put some silicone up here on this end just to make sure that none of my witness marks are witness to a leak. That's all my witness marks. Man. this on here.
Emissions air there. Pretty solid car actually. I have walked around it already. I didn't see anything that really brought a guy around it. A little bit of rust starting down here, but very manageable. Of course, I can't see much. I'm saying a little bit of rust down here.
All right, see if we can figure out which fuel line is which. This has got to be number 1, because I don't see it going in the number 6 spot. So this is number 2. Clean, that's how I like it. All right, back up punt. We need to start from the back of the head and come forward, or I'm gonna get in my own way. Can you tell I haven't done this for like 15 minutes? Let's get this thing together. Whew. Finally, some progress. Got fuel lines on, intake on, fuel rail. Button up this harness here a little bit. We can get that turbo on. And then we'll be, with a little bit of cleanup, be ready to stab her in there. That's what I'm talking about. Ah, hell yeah. Finally getting somewhere. Everyone, anti sees these. This end it'll help. This end, it doesn't matter. It's manifold end. You're pretty much bid on that end anyway. Yep, manifold end you're pretty much always gonna get cooked on. I mean, I know most people delete these, but some people don't. I'm gonna take you out. Because this manifold end, if one's gonna strip, it's gonna be this one. Like I said, the NICs pretty much will get cooked anyway, but at least then you can say you tried. Good and tight. Good and tight. Perfect. Wires held in place. Okie dokie. Let's put a turbo on here. Yep, let's put a turbo on here. I know what you guys are saying, but I thought you wasn't gonna put the turbo on there till you put it in the chassis. Well, I got thinking about it, and as usual, I realized I'm an idiot. I remember how big of a pain it was to get the turbo off the manifold, just to put the manifold on in chassis. And then plus, doing the drain down hose around that motor mount and doing the other water hose, the coolant line that runs behind the turbo. While it's all in there, not friendly, not doing it. Nope, not doing it. We're gonna get this whole side of the motor dressed and ready to go. And we can put it in there. Today, gross manifold. Not today. Y'all starting to see how this might be easier out here? Let's put the big bad turbo on. I am doing my best to build this to come back apart. Because last time we did it, we built it not to come apart. And it was a total fail. So this time we're going to plan on taking it apart. And that is the recipe for success. Hoofda! Oh God! Oh, wait, flaws are made. Flaws are made. Ah, shoo! Where's my nut turbos? Oh no! Oh, there's my nut turbos. You don't match. Okay. One is not like the rest. Only need one. Aha! Win! Sweet. And we're replacing these lines here because like the coolant line and the oil feed line and the coolant return, because these do, like after all, because they're right here at this heat, and they like get fixed into a place. And once you start moving them or bending them, they're not the same as what they once were. So let's see, that O-ring still got some pudge to it. That one still has some pudge to it. It ain't sitting flat, so we should be fine reusing those. Sweet! Alright. That is a fully mounted turbo. Alright. Now all we gotta do is get this engine mount on it. And get the frame painted. Just do a little buff and shoot on it, nothing fancy. And then just gonna clean up these mating surfaces. I said I might run the tap on those threads. Might put the bolt in there, just see what they feel like. And then she's ready to go in there. Yep, she is about ready to party. Yeah! Get it fired up, get it hot. Do a couple hot retorques. Party time. Love it. Welcome to the belly of the beast. Alright. We're gonna attempt to knock down this rust a little bit here. We'll do that side first. Gloves. And safety squints. Flathead screwdriver. right, I think we're done in here for now. Oh yeah, I'm glad we built those up. Clean those off, I mean. They had a lot more buildup on them than I thought they would have. They have a lot better mating surface now. We can really crank down on that thing. And throw all the Loctite at it. Alright, now the only thing left to do is put that clamp on that hose. And then get this lower engine mount on. Give it back. Alright. Unless I'm forgetting something, which I probably am. Thing's ready to go in. Sweet! Like I said, unless I'm forgetting something, this big bad unit's ready to go in that hole right there. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get it done. Well, there it is. It's ready to go back in the shipping crate it came out of. That makes me happy. Yeah, there it is. It's all together. It's complete. Oil pan's painted. Everything's torqued. Everything's beautiful. Modified intake. This bad girl here is ready to go back in the shipping crate it came out of. But if y'all want to see that, you have to come back on the next one. Yeah, the next one we'll get her in there and get the first fire up on it. Might even have all the hot retorques in it. Just have to wait and see. But for now, this video's done. I appreciate y'all. Thank you for stopping by. Leave a like, comment. See you on the next one.